That was interesting. You guys, we didn't travel?
Yeah.
We didn't get a
I
pen?
didn't put them on.
Yeah, you can sit there. Okay.
Right, now you only have to say this.
As long as it doesn't go out their aisle. Thanks. Oh, lecture. Very good. So, I usually just do it. This room here is kind of crowded, so it wasn't as quite as informal as I usually make it. 'Cause I usually make this a group. Are you going to come join us? Come sit. We have some chairs here. We're going to kind of do a circle.
There's a, if I could get in front of your chair there for a moment.
Oh yeah. Great guys.
You need some more? You need some more of those?
Yeah, one more would be good.
One more? Like maybe this one?
Yeah.
Okay. The floor is so old. It's
Yeah.
uneven. I mean,
That's
it's like,
okay.
I'm uneven too.
thank you. Does that work? Okay.
There's room right here too. For somebody.
Yeah?
Right here.
Yeah. You
Oh, that was
want
Did one of you win?
Oh, Jerry.
Want to sit right here?
Oh, okay. I'll get cozy with Rob.
Yeah.
That's great. Maybe pull up a little bit so if people come in, it's not around. And you can sit here too. There's plenty of room in circle. I just try to make a circle so we're talking to each other instead of my talking at you. I like this is our community conversation. So first of all, I thank you so much for coming out to our coffee this morning. I try to have everybody introduce themselves and say where they're from a little bit so I can get to know them a little bit and we can get to know each other. Sounds like some of you guys know each other. So, but I have a lot
We
to
started
catch
early.
up.
We started
Okay.
using each other.
Great. So do you want to start?
Sure. Jeff Beansley, live in Monroe, on Macomb Street. Lifelong activist dating back to Eugene McCarthy.
Great. Come today. Thank you.
I'm Pastor Eric Tucker. I'm Pastor Carrie Chapel AME down on the east end of Monroe. I've been down in Monroe here since 2012. Came from Detroit, Michigan. And so I am down here very, very involved in the community and the spiritual side of the community and just bringing everybody together. Matter of fact, I was a part of a program called Monroe Praise where all the pastors and whatnot come together and we put down all denominational lines and join together as one.
That's fantastic. That's great.
I'm John Chessman. I was formerly active in the Monroe County Democratic Party. After I lost an election, I also went into a new career, so took a lot of my time and never got back to it now that I'm retired and working on it.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us.
Virginia Wernette. I, lifelong Democrat, want to see change, really became active in politics when Clinton was running. And I'm from Erie, Michigan, grew up there, but I'm actually building a house in Pittsburgh, which is still in here.
Where's Pittsburgh? Sorry.
Right outside of Hillsdale.
Oh, wow. So it's pretty far from here. How, like an
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Wow.
Sounds good.
Is that going to be weird for you to leave Monroe? How long have you been here?
Well, give me more of an opportunity to campaign for you, put it that way.
Well, thanks for coming today. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Marietta Kretlaw. I'm not a lifelong Democrat, although I did support Eugene McCarthy. But I was converted, basically, a long time ago.
Amen.
So, and I live on Stony Point Peninsula, which is right next to the Fermi on Lake Erie. And I'm retired from Wayne County government and City of Westland government. My husband's a Wayne County retiree, so we're very much affected by the politics we have now in Lansing and also what's going nationally because we live on Lake Erie.
Sure.
And we get the algae bloom. We call it the cow poop. You know, it comes in and it smells and you can't open your windows and you can't do anything in the water, and it's very, very important. The environment is very important to us, along with this craziness that has taken over our government. It's just, it's sad. Yeah. Well, it was a great job, both of them. But I've been here before. I've been supporting Gretchen because I really can tell you I hate Tim Walbrook. And so I have worked on the previous campaign and will work on hers because I think it's so important that we get people who are of sound mind in Washington and Lansing vote.
Great, well, thank you. Go ahead.
Terry Beamsley, married to that guy.
Okay.
Also lifelong Democrat, longtime activist. I worked on the McCarthy campaign too, although that's not where we met each other. I run a foundation here in town and I'm heavily involved in the community, so I try to be about what I can.
I'm Rob Peven. I just come here every morning to drink coffee. I didn't even know there was a meet the
We're
candidate.
glad. Well, we try to have coffee hours and around the district, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I always try to have, get a chance for people to meet each other. Sometimes it's fresh faces in the community and I think that I really come from community building, and I think that's the foundation of a successful community, successful state, and a successful country, that we come together as community members and try to agree to disagree on things, but at the end of the day, come together to solve problems. So, welcome.
I actually did come here on purpose a few months ago for one of your coffee hours.
Yeah, we try to come here. I don't always come here, but I do try to come here regularly. I love this store. It reminds me a lot of a little store we have in Saline called, what used to be called the Drowsy Parrot, which closed, but it was a really fun coffee shop that had a lot of character, and it was a warm and welcoming place, and that's always nice. And of course, having it a small business owner, really supports small business owners too. So go ahead.
Hello, I'm David. I'm from Milan.
Okay.
I'm a student at Eastern Michigan University.
Great.
And I'm more of an independent. I seem like I'm the only one here. But I heard a decent amount about you, from being at Eastern, and I'm a political science major. And so I was curious and figured I'd come over here and check it out.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here. That's great. So, so first of all, thank you all for coming. I will say that I am not a lifelong Democrat. I am new to this. I actually come from a community public service background, a volunteer in the Saline community, where I started. I was raised to give back, because I didn't say that. I was raised to, my grandfather was in that world in the Navy, and I grew up in my mother's very military family that, you serve your country, very patriotic, and Girl Scout, all the church, went to church my whole life and was raised in that kind of environment where we have responsibility to look out for each other. And so when I moved to Saline, I had a young child and had an opportunity, because I was in a career shift, I'd say. That was an interesting time for me, but I left a pretty intense job that I worked a lot of hours, and I moved to Michigan, and I had more time. And I also was kind of lonely. My husband traveled a lot, and my son was an infant, which means not a lot of talking going on there. So I kind of got involved in the neighborhood and in the community, and was really fortunate to be introduced to public service that way. And it's been a great privilege, and it is very frustrating in Lansing. So that was, I got involved as a volunteer, and then was kind of recruited to run for city council, and then recruited to run for mayor, and same thing for the state rep, and same for the Congress, and it has been a great privilege, and I know we have a lot of issues that we all need to work on together. And so I always try to, I know that we all feel really passionate about where we come from, but one of the reasons I try to have a conversation like this is because not everybody's going to agree, and I have had very extremes at coffees, I would say, and I have also worked with various extremes in my career in public service, and I tried to learn. I actually bought a book called The Magic of Conflict, because I actually am a pretty shy person, and conflict originally was I didn't like it, so I didn't understand it, and I didn't understand that actually conflict is a good thing if we use it properly. So the challenge right now, and I know you're all sensing it because I hear this every day, is what's happening on the national conversation, and it's we have a very mean-spirited conversation going on in some of our leadership, and it's pretty frustrating. So I really hope that, I know there's a lot of people that feel frustrated about it, and I hope that we can move beyond that and find a place where we can really come together and do positive work and not be so mean-spirited. And I think that comes out of a lot of emotion, a lot of hurt, a lot of misplaced. I mean, I think there's a lot of challenges that we have. So I would just say that I'm here to talk with you about what's going on in Monroe, a little bit about the work. I'm happy to talk about what's going on in Michigan because I am in the State House, and also, some of the things that we're talking about in Congress. And I just talked with Gary just about Flint. So what's going on, how to help our state and our country move forward. So that's a little bit about my background. And usually, because I don't have a lot of time, I do see if anybody has a specific question, I try to start with that, and then if there's time after that, back into things that I'm working on. So do you have a specific question?
I share your concerns about our representation. And so, how do you run against someone who claims divine inspiration?
Well, I think we all come from the same God, first of all. So
I'm not sure you believe that.
Well, I don't. That's what he believes. I'm not the incumbent. I have, like I said, I come from a different place. I do strongly believe in our individual spirit and what we all bring to the earth. That we have a great opportunity. We all have a great opportunity. It's how we use it. And so I feel that we can be using our gifts much more effectively in this country. And I think a lot of people are. And we're not talking about it a lot. There's an article that I just was listening, because I have early mornings and late nights, and I came home pretty late. I think it was Thursday night. I don't know if you ever listened to NPR, but there's a show called On Point, and they interviewed that guy James Fallows. I don't know if you ever talked to him, but he just spent 3 years traveling in the United States, and he talked about our human spirit and how we really can overcome, and there's a lot of really positive things going on in our country. And he talked about it. He said, it's really interesting because I know, because I tried to figure out why do we always go to the negative place. We spend so much time in that negative space, and there's so much great stuff going on. And if we could lift that up and talk about that more, and he did that in this article. And I don't know if there's going to be a book coming out of it, but it was really inspiring. Like I was listening to while I was driving, so then I'm in the kitchen, pulling up the website, and I'm like, and so it's in the Atlantic, I guess, an article, and he talks about all these communities that have really, he was in San Bernardino, and he talked about how, that community went through so much because they were bankrupt. They had a lot of challenges before the shooting, and he just talks about how people are coming together, and I think we should be talking about that more, and that's what I try to do. I've been doing community conversations recently on heroin and opioid addiction. It's a huge problem. I know in Monroe, because I was at the Monroe rally, it's a really big challenge for our communities. And people are afraid of talking about addiction in their families or personally the experience they've had. And it's killing our family and our neighbors. And I think that until we start talking about and identifying how to come together and solve that, one of the things that I was just in Adrian, and they don't really have the kind of, they have a really strong group here and some programs and some resources that I think are much stronger here than in parts of Lenawee County. And we were talking about maybe going through the churches to raise awareness, because a lot of people don't know that it's a problem. And so problems get worse very quickly if people just say, oh, it's not a problem. And I can say that in Saline because we have that problem. That's where it first came up for me, is in Saline when I was mayor. We have a DARE program, and I think it was 2012 or 20. I always go to the graduation. It's a big deal in our community where all the parents come, 4th grade. You can't find a place to park, and it's all the 4th graders. And we have the DARE officer, and then I'm there, and the police chief, and then we usually have somebody big and scary, like a judge or somebody that's very serious for these young kids, and they're very proud of the work they did to learn about the DARE program. And I asked the judge the last time that I was there, I always talk to him, what's the new, what's happening, what do I need to be aware of? And he said heroin and opioid addiction. That was in 2012, 2011, I think. And so I said, you got all these parents here, talk about it. Just let's talk about it. And so he talked about, in your cabinet, you have prescription drugs that, you're not using them all, you're giving it, it can be very addictive for people. And so he started telling the whole story, and then, which was great, but it's still not enough. That's just a start of, and I don't know how much you're hearing about it now, but it is a big crisis, not only in Michigan, but around our country. So much so that the governor, coincidentally, I had actually been to parades all last summer in the 7th Congressional trying to meet
I think
people.
there's a lot of awareness in Monroe.
Yeah, because 10 years, because I partly because you have a corridor issue with trade, traffic.
And
So-
we also had basically a pain pill vendor
Yeah, exactly.
that was convicted here.
So you have also a really great group of young young people in recovery that are stepping up and telling their story, which is really important because there's a lot of people that think, oh, somebody that was addicted to drugs is, you know, a criminal and needs to be put in jail. And actually, one of them had scoliosis in high school and was prescribed medication by his doctor, and he became addicted. And then the other, I was in another panel, and the woman, she's now working for the Pharmaceutical Association, but you know, her mother OD'd she was addicted to opioids. I mean, so this isn't like some dark space this is our family and friends and neighbors, and until we really talk about it and also provide mechanisms for recovery, I think that's another part that's really hard, because recovery is really, really hard, and especially from heroin, it's many more, it sounds like many more iterations than alcoholic addiction, from what I'm hearing. I don't know, I'm still trying to learn a lot, but I feel like my job is, again, to connect people and understand, so we can help and say, oh, well, I know there's this resource here, or, you know, you probably shouldn't let your kids take prescription opioids if at all possible. I mean, if somebody breaks their leg or sprains their ankle, don't just hand them, you know, an opioid, because it could have very negative ramifications. And I think all of us want to make people feel better and help them. So I think a lot of times people don't realize that what's happening is not beneficial for the young people. So I would just say, I think part of our job as humans and a part of in our communities is to identify places where we can help people and do the work to do that. And I think because it sounds like you guys have been really active, that's something that we can do, and it's just a matter of finding the people to come together with, and then figuring out what the issues are and how to solve them. And I also really believe in local community problem solving. I think one of the problems is we don't have the tools right now, and the state and the federal government is eliminating a lot of the tools to do that. And Flint's a great example that, you know, with the emergency manager legislation and the lack of funding for the infrastructure, which Senator Peters did say last night, the Senate is talking about a large amount of money to address not only Flint, but infrastructure in our state and our country is a nightmare. We are, I think the American Society of Engineers, Civil Engineers, put us like a D on it when they do a report card. I mean, it's bad. And it's not just the roads, it's things you can't even see. For example, drinking water pipes and our stormwater, and then, you know, what you're talking about with algae blooms, that's a big problem. I don't know if you know, but Michigan is the only state in the country that doesn't have a septic ordinance. Yeah, so that's a kind of, you know, when you think about that.
Statewide ordinance?
Septic, yep, statewide septic ordinance.
So all the ordinances are local?
Well, if there are, a lot of counties don't even have them.
Yeah.
So that's a big challenge, and so that's something that we're looking at in Lansing too, to try to, because clean water is obviously, you know, I think that's a fundamental. I mean, you don't think about it, but I think everybody right now is thinking about, you know, I actually just had I have a really old house, and they were changing the pipes, just not because of this, but, and we had to change like the taps of the street, and when I put it on, it was like air was coming out and all this stuff, and I'm looking at it going, should I drink that? You know, like, so it's kind of, it made you, that's something we never think about. We take it for granted, right? That's like a basic, that the water coming out of your pipes. And for the people that were in Flint for all this time that weren't able to, you know, have their voices heard. I think that is the saddest part. And that is a great tragedy for public officials. And I, you know, for me personally, I know there are times when, because you're a politician, I actually, when I became mayor, I really struggled with that word. And I had a lot of kids that would come into City Hall, and I finally came, well, there's good politicians and there's not so good, you know, bad politicians. And, you know, they're good politicians they're public servants, they really are looking for solutions and working on figuring out all the time how to make things better for their constituents. But bad folks kind of don't really care about the general population, and we know that's part of our society. There are takes all kinds to make the world go round, as my mom raised me. So so it is challenging, and I think the Flint situation it is terrible. I hope, and I think that we are trying to move towards doing some things in Lansing, like identifying funding for the infrastructure and the pipes, and doing the right thing to get the water fixed as soon as possible. I think it should have been done a long time ago. I also would like to see the emergency manager legislation. I think this is a conversation that we need to be having. That doesn't work. The reason we have an emergency manager at all is because we have systematically defunded local government. I know that you've experienced that here in a row for the consolidation of the police and fire. There's some other things when you limit revenue, you limit services to the point where things start breaking. And here in our state, we have Flint is the obvious, but underneath that, there's cities all over the state. I don't know how much you're following Detroit Public Schools, but that has actually been under emergency management for many years.
Yeah, the same guy that Flint.
Well, he moved over, but before that, there was another one. And there are,
Mayor Duggan was on the radio last night. Basically, that was his pitch that the school system's been under the control of emergency management for 7 or 8 years.
right,
And the problem is now worse than
right.
when they began, so clearly.
Well, because it's again,
This
it's
is
like
not an
any,
emergency manager to solve the
it's any,
problem.
yeah, it's like any problem, there's more than one piece to it. So, it's funding and part of with public schools in general, our population has gone down because of charter schools, because people have left the state, and because people aren't having as many children. I mean, there's a lot of contributing factors, but at the end of the day, throwing an emergency manager at it isn't gonna fix the problem.
Well,
You
it
know,
wasn't designed to do that. The emergency manager was there to make sure the banks and the bondholders got their money,
Yeah.
every penny of it. You know, everybody else says, okay, we'll pay in a bankruptcy, okay, we've got enough money to cover 2/3 of the debt, so you get 2/3 of what you're owed, and then it's all gone. But no, not with the emergency manager. Plus, it was voted down by the people.
I know, so
And,
that's right, we're hoping that,
and then the state legislature passed it again with that,
Poison pill.
poison pill in it. Well, frankly, if you want to get this state going, first get rid of those term limits.
yeah,
Because face it, you got a guy 40 years old who's told you got a job for 6 or 8 or 12 years, and then you're out in the street. And he's got, you know, kids going to college, he's got a mortgage, he's got bills to pay. Is he gonna, especially with the safe districts, is he gonna listen to me? No, he's gonna listen to the guy who can give him a job when he has to leave.
well, we did work
but then-
on, I introduced some legislation about, limiting the revolving door
Yeah.
to being allowed to having a 2-year, break after you finish.
You know.
For me more, I try to, like I said earlier, try to give people the benefit of the doubt until proven wrong. But
Well,
I do
it's
think
probably
a
not even
lot of it is
conscious.
capacity. Yeah, it's not. I mean, I was in local government for 20 years, and I did a lot of work around economic development, around transportation infrastructure. We accessed there's a drinking water revolving loan fund that we could fund more fully and finish fixing all the old pipes, and we have a lot of old pipes still around the state that need to be addressed at some point. And that, you know, the problem with Flint is they didn't put the anti-corrosion
Yeah,
chemicals in there,
because
but,
it cut the expenses down.
right. But at the end of the day, there are pipes that still need to be fixed
Exactly.
because they're breaking anyhow. So let's just fix it, do it right. And the other thing that has come up this year that I think is, or this week, that is another sign that, you know, you can't just continue to defund government without paying big prices is, if any of you saw the second of the auditor's report about the veterans home in Grand Rapids. And, you know, that was about saving money again and privatizing it. And, you know, I'm hoping that our public will learn that this isn't just about, you know, saving money, because when you end up saving money, somebody else that doesn't have accountability, like charter schools or what happened with the Grand Rapids home, the people that were doing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's all across the board, and it's just not right for our constituents to be. It's not right. So, I know you were talking too about the water. That's a big challenge. I've been trying to do some work and learn more about the river raising watershed. I think we talked about that last time I was here. There's a lot we can be doing, but there is I know Ohio's got some better laws, and I think we can be working on that. But
Hello.
I would like to ask, in Congress, I mean, you don't cover everything. Everybody's got to be on committees. What would your area of specialization be? The committees would cover like defense or judicial or
Well,
health and
I
human
think
services.
the policy work that I've done most of all is economic development, so commerce. I mean, I do have a background in finance and accounting.
So commerce.
Yeah, I think commerce and also I did a lot of work with transportation infrastructure, so I think that also possibly, I think because I don't know how it works, but I don't know if you always get what
Well,
where you move to, so I think
you
it
don't
depends
always,
on.
but you.
Right,
you're
so I think it depends
subcommittees.
on, for me personally, public education was really big when I ran in 2012 for the State House. Sorry, I keep looking that way. But when I ran for the State House, I was really concerned about what's been happening to our public education system. I'm really supportive of early education, 3, 4, like pre-K. I think is really important to the future of our state. Also, community colleges and VOTEC, I think are really important because I actually was watching a show on robotics a couple nights ago, and I think that's really coming, and we really need to be training people to figure out how to be in the robotics field, and whether or not that's running the robot or building the robot. That's a field that is definitely a 21st century field that's going to impact us hugely. And I don't know if you guys are at all familiar with autonomous cars, but that's basically a robot car. So these are all things that I think are going to come down the pike. So I also am very interested in education. I think that's the foundation for success for people in our community. So those are probably the areas that I would be, primarily interested in.
Nobody
I
can do
do.
it all.
What?
Nobody can do it all.
Yeah,
so
and I will just say the 7th has a very large agricultural district. I'm not an expert in that, but I certainly am interested in, I'm currently on the agriculture committee in Lansing. I know it's a really important part of our economy in the state, so that would also be an area that I'm interested in. So when I got to, this is what I've learned, I think that Michigan's, just a smaller, just like the Congress, just smaller, and there's a lot of different committees, but there's people with different areas of expertise.
Yeah.
And I would certainly say that somebody that has more expertise in the area should be on that committee versus, because it's a 2-year, it goes pretty quick. I think, to get up to speed and really, be aware of what the issues are at a very high level. Are you joining us?
Yes, they are.
Bring a chair around
I
here.
have a chair.
Oh, great. Just trying to figure out how to bring it over
This
there.
kind gentleman did.
Okay, so, we can bring it over here is good too. So I think that would be the other thing that you can move over a little bit. Jeff?
I don't know where to go. All right, some gentleman move my chair for me. Come on, I'm a sexist.
Thanks for joining us. What's your name?
My name's Mary Morris.
Thanks for coming, Mary.
Yeah.
I'm Gretchen. Glad
Hi,
you're here.
Gretchen.
Yeah, we did a little introduction earlier, so.
Okay.
And now we're all best friends.
Well, I hope so. I'm here mainly because Tim Wahlberg, I've gone to some of his town hall meetings, and I bring up things, and he just says, well, that's not on the local level. We want it on the, I don't deal with the community level, and that's who you're running against, or will be, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm familiar with because I was on the local level for a long time. I was elected for 20 years.
Oh, really?
In Saline.
In what?
In Saline, I was on city council in Saline for 6 years and then 14 years as mayor. So I'm very familiar with the local level. I'm also very familiar with our congressional representatives.
Yeah.
I do have the support and endorsement of Mark Schauer and also Joe Schwartz, who was a Republican that Tim defeated in 2006, I think. So
When Shower beat him once, didn't he?
Schauer beat him in 2008, and then in 2010 he lost and Tim won again, and then in 2012 it was redistricted and Monroe County came into the 7th Congressional in 2012. And then that's when I think it was Kurt
So we're all
Haskell.
united then now.
Yes, we are.
Well, you know what, I've been working with Ann Arbor organizations. They're, especially their recovery community.
Right, we were just talking about a little bit about that.
Yeah, and Monroe here wants to start a treatment center. and we're just doing whatever we can. I just read it. Hi, cousin.
Hello.
I'm related to Catherine Monroe, and I won't talk bad about my family. This is your union leader here. Jeff, introduce yourself, please.
I'm Jeff Morris, president of Local 723, and this is
I'm Mike Keck, I'm the financial secretary.
Thanks for
on it.
coming. Are you here for this?
No, we're here for coffee.
Okay, pull up a chair.
No,
They came
we're not
to
here
see
for
me.
coffee.
Okay, well, we were just introducing ourselves and talking about issues of the day and what's going on. But we were just talking about opioid and heroin addiction because I've been doing some roundtables. I actually learned a lot about that when I was mayor. I mean, I thought it was an issue, and then I've been trying to do more to help educate the community members around the 7th because a lot of people aren't aware of
Every
what
time I
issues
talk
are.
to Tim Wahlberg, he says, "Oh,
Oh, we have to leave it alone.
go work with your community. I can't do anything for you." But Obama just gave over $1 billion federal money for treatment centers, and I would love to work with somebody to figure out how to get that, or
So when
not
is,
the whole billion. We're not greedy in that.
how many people here that
We'll
are
take
from
it.
Monroe knew that this was an issue? Did you guys all know that this was challenging?
I have a daughter who became addicted and went to prison for 5 years.
Thank you.
And when you're talking about ruining families, yeah, her son is a casualty. And we know that treatment is less expensive than incarcerating. And in this country, every 12 days a prison is built. What are we doing? I mean, we know that these are issues, and yeah, that's one passion, and I will do whatever I can to help you get a treatment center in Monroe. And I
I'm
think
taking names.
Pastor, I
and numbers.
know here's my card.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
yeah, this country, and you talk about the pill doctor. I worked at Mercy Hospital as an interim director of medical records, and went to the chief medical officer after being there a short time. I'm naive and ignorant of what goes on in Monroe because I was new. And I said, look, the word on the street is this guy is the drug doctor in Monroe. His response was, yeah, that's what I heard. We have to do something. I'm not full of resolutions, but I know that treatment of our people is the answer, and it's cheaper than incarcerating them. And what I heard on NPR is that it's those who are speaking about it is with our legislation, the way it is, it's gonna take 30 years to undo what we've done. So what can we do at a local level as a community? Are judges having some discretion to stop locking these, especially these mothers up?
They are starting to do drug courts. There is much more awareness, so I would say
I've
that.
seen that on 60
So there's
Minutes.
multi-levels. One, like I talk about the prescription drug right off the bat because that's a proactive thing that kind of stop it before it starts, right? So that there's, like I said before, there's different pieces to it. So there's that piece. The pill doctor piece is the MAPS, which is the database that the state has on prescription of the drugs. Prescribing is only right now accessed by the pharmacy and the police, and we want to get the doctors that are prescribing to do more. There's iterations of what you can do locally, and then funding mental health and addiction is the other piece of treating the resources, because there are a lot of communities that don't have those resources, and it's really challenging. We need to support each other in recovery because it's a long process. And I've heard some really fantastic, wonderful, good stories about people that were supported through their recovery and are in a great place. And so we want to raise those people up and talk about that. How did they get to that place? And they talk about the community came together and helped each other. Are you guys leaving?
We do. I have one quick story though. In that area, I have some work an opportunity to work with a company that offers effective non-opioid pain relief, and it's a range of things that they do besides that. That's the least successful of their products because physicians who are treating pain aren't interested. And they aren't interested because the financial incentives for them
Exactly.
for prescribing opioids are significantly higher than actually treating pain. Simply because the patients continue to come back because of the tolerance that their bodies build up to opioids. And so there are fundamental systematic challenges to eliminating the opioid prescription.
Right, so we need to work on the medical side too, and I think that, that is part of the whole process. And I actually had some doctors in my office talking about graduate medical education, what there's a program here to keep doctors and funding them, and it's complicated, and it always does, it's underfunded, surprise. So anyhow, we were talking about that and primary care and how to get more primary physicians out in communities, because primary care is not the most rewarding, and with the huge medical loans that doctors end up with after medical school, being in a specialty is you can pay off your bills quicker. So the incentive, there's not an incentive for primary physicians.
We have like 2 doctors in town who can
We do it.
prescribe.
Thank you so much for coming. It was really nice to see you. Take care.
It's 2 doctors who can prescribe Suboxone. Okay, you know what that is. You know what that is. Mercy Memorial, I just spoke with an intern. He said there's 2 to 3 people coming in with overdose. And it's sometimes it's older people with prescription drugs. We've got a real prescription drug
Over
problem.
50 is the highest rate of addicts that are dying.
2 to 3 people come into emergency, and Jeff can tell you because he worked on emergency. Well, he doesn't anymore.
That's a long time.
Huh?
Long time ago.
Well, at any rate, but what's going on here is we need to get organized, and next weekend we're having the Hope for Heroin hockey game, and anybody who would really fight for our cause here, we really need a treatment center. I will get you a table there.
Okay. I know my Brian Merlos is planning on coming. He actually plays hockey. We have a hockey team that my son plays on. There's a group of us, and it's like I have some staff people here that I should have probably had you guys introduce yourself. I apologize. Anyhow, you want to introduce yourselves really quick?
Sure. I'm Dana Sherry. I'm Gretchen's political director, so in charge of all the voter contact. And we're hoping to open an office here in Monroe in April. And Brian, that Gretchen's referencing, we are regional field director. And then Erin here will be on the field organizer, and then I'll let you introduce yourself. But anyhow, I think most of you got a chance to sign in, and we thank you for signing our petition. Right now we're working mostly on getting petition signatures, but then also opening offices. We've been calling voters in the district since November, so really hoping to do the work that it takes to win in November.
Thanks for the reminder to come here too.
Oh yeah.
That's effective. If you've got a good communication going, you can do anything.
That's what we're hoping, and we have a good candidate, so. Erin, you wanna-
Okay. So, and then did you have anything that you wanted to talk about in particular? Because I feel like I'm facing this way a lot, so I want to.
Well, I get the impression you want to have a positive campaign. I think you said that you don't like saying bad things about your opponent, but most people don't like your opponent, it seems, around here. And I'm wondering, is he really well funded? Where does he get his? I want to hear some dirt about the other guy.
Probably the Koch
But
brothers.
I'm just kind of curious where he gets
Probably the
his
Koch
funding and
brothers,
support
'cause he
from.
was on the tape big
Mhm.
time. He just
Actually,
gave
it's pretty
himself
easy
a
to find out if you just
$300,000 raise.
research campaign funding, and yeah, it is mostly.
Well, with these super PACs, and you don't know where the
I don't
money's
get
coming
raises
from,
like that.
Citizens United and all that. Where does he? Does he have a lot of support? Are you going to be
I
way
was-
overspent in this campaign, or
Well,
do you
so
have some
it's-
support? Do you have some national support?
Okay, so one of the biggest problems I think we have in this country is, yes, money is out of control in campaigns, and that would actually be one of the first things that I do is try to get campaigns, stop the gross amount of money that's being put in campaigns, because it's totally out of control. And I not only at the state level. I mean, since I've been in the state, we've actually doubled the individual contributions and the PAC contributions. Since I've only been there, I'm in my 4th year. So it's already doubled. That's crazy. I mean, why is that? So, yes, because the bigger dollar donors can just put that much more money in on the Republican side but the thing is it's not just about money, it's about votes. And I really try to talk to people. If people came out and vote, the money, who cares about the money? You can put all the money you want, but if we know that Democrats will come out and vote in this election, and we're counting on other voters that consider themselves independent, and we think that there's definitely a path to a win. And we're working on that very diligently and getting great response out in the community, because you're right. I don't think that there's a lot of people that aren't happy with the incumbent, including myself. That's why I'm running. I did have a lot of experience working as mayor in the community of Saline, and then also as state representative, and not getting a lot of support at the congressional level. So I think you can go online. It's pretty obvious when you go online and do research on the incumbent, where his money comes from, and it is not a grassroots campaign like our campaign. We have over, I'd say, probably 3,500 donors at this point. We're truly a grassroots campaign and doing the work every day to talk to people and meet with people in the community. But I've actually been kind of trying to figure out how to, you can maybe help me on this message on, your vote's worth a lot of money. So if you say, oh, there's all this money in politics, well, how much is your vote worth, right? So if the incumbent spends, say, $4 million, and there's 300,000 voters, let's say, I don't know, let's just throw some numbers around. What is that worth? I mean, that's worth a lot of money. So why don't we talk about it that way? And so I don't know if that makes any sense, if you feel like that's something we're talking about, but I think if you do talk to people in the community and they are like, oh, well, there's so much money, I don't want to vote, well, their vote's worth a lot of money. So it's like giving yourself your own paycheck bonus raise or something. I think people don't really think about that they have a lot of power, and sometimes people walk away from their power and
Power to the people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we are coming back to that place. I'm hearing that a lot, some frustration, but I still am hearing some voices saying, well, I'm not going to vote because it's too corrupt, and well, you're just going to let it be more corrupt if you don't vote. I mean, what does that do?
You can't beat that bunch. I haven't voted for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's another question for you, that your colleagues in the state government, the Republicans, have changed a lot of the voting laws in this state, like eliminating straight ticket voting.
Right.
And do you see that as hurting you or helping you?
Well, actually, in our district, I don't think it might even help us, to be honest with you, because straight ticket voting tends to be, especially in a presidential, I don't know, so it depends on who's at the top, right? But there's like the hardcore Republicans, and then there's this group of people that consider themselves independent, and I don't know how they're going to end up voting for the presidential, but if they decided to do that and did a straight ticket, then that would not help us, right? If they ended up voting for a Republican president.
So did you support that, eliminating straight ticket voting?
No, I didn't support it because...
Did you have any of your constituents who said, I want to see straight ticket voting eliminated?
No,
that this
so,
is like
it's totally,
not good for me?
totally blocking voter access. And I didn't support it for many reasons.
Well, not according to just a few weeks ago, I ran into our state senator at Meyer, and I asked him, what's with this straight ticket voting? Did a lot of your constituents, is that something your constituents have been asking you to get rid of?
Both sides.
And he said, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, right. Tell them to name some names.
I would be surprised, absolutely.
Senator.
I would be surprised if it was not all
It
one
didn't seem
side.
like something that people are asking for, to eliminate our
We're in the bottom.
opportunities to vote.
We're in the bottom 50 states. We're in the bottom 3, tied with Kentucky and Alabama for voter access. The reason, there are multiple reasons that I didn't support it. I'm actually minority chair of the elections committee, so I'm pretty well versed in voter access, and it's a huge problem, and I'm working on some things for this year to message on for all the legislators that really want voter rights to be improved. But the reason, there's multiple reasons. Number one, the people of Michigan told us in this century that they wanted straight ticket voting. So the fact that it went to the ballot, recently, and people voted, like 60% of people voted that they wanted straight ticket voting, and we just totally ignored them. I mean, not me, but the majority said, well, we don't care. We think, oh, what was the argument? The guy that introduced it said, well, people should do more research, and straight ticket, that means that they haven't done their research and they don't care. And so we offered an amendment, if that was really the reason. Then let's see, I offered no reason, so early voting, no reason absentee, so people could actually read the ballot in their own home over a period of time and actually do the research leisurely and fill out the ballot in their privacy of their own home over time, so they could do all the research on each of these candidates. Another one of our minority caucus, meaning Democrats, on the committee offered, how about every name not having a D or an R next to it? So we don't need to know what party they're from. We're going to actually vote based on the research that we do, and it's not going to be whether or not they're a Democrat or Republican. Like, what about that idea? If you're really interested in making sure the voters are educated. So we introduced probably 15 amendments to that straight ticket bill. Of course, you know, online registration, there are other states that are doing online. Arizona is doing online registration. It saves the state, it saves taxpayer dollars. How about, why aren't we doing that? It's gonna save us money. That could go to our kids and to the Flint water situation. I mean, so there's multiple things that we can be doing in the state to improve voter access. So I'm not in favor of it because we voted for it, as our population voted in favor of keeping it. That means my job is to listen to the voters and represent them. Number two is, you know, that we don't have easy access to the ballot already, right? We have the longest and one of the longest wait lines on average, it's a wait line of 26 minutes. So that means if you live in a rural community where there's no wait line, places that are more urban are gonna have a couple of hours I know Detroit, you know, for the 2008 election, I think it was, had like a 4-hour wait in some communities. So are we gonna put more money? And so as part of this, are we gonna put more money into the voter equipment that's failing around the state? There's no money for that. I mean, all the clerks on both sides of the aisle were opposed to it. They said, it's not good for us, it's gonna cause, because, you know, when ballots get kicked out, it's gonna make the lines longer. It makes it more difficult to access votes. So if say you're a single mom, or we tried to add to that, you know, if you're a senior or you're disabled, you could cut ahead. Nope. I mean, there was like, it was so obvious, just, you know. So it's really offensive. So we are trying to do what I'm calling a voter bill of rights, and that should be coming out here probably in the next couple of months. But it's egregious what we've been doing to voter access. And we used to be, 20 years ago, we were one of the leaders in the country for voter access, and we're now in the bottom 50. And it's very purposeful, and it's very disgusting. Yeah. So that's a good question. We also had the gag order that I don't know how many of you followed. That was a really big, and they supposedly fixed it, and now it's going to the Senate and the governor, but it's not really a fix. And I voted for it out of committee because it was in the court, but we didn't know where the court was on it. So it's like this much of an improvement because it basically takes the 60 days off if you are doing a strictly neutral ballot initiative. But the fact of the matter is, the chair introduced the amendment saying that there were 2,000 violations of using the ballot inappropriately, and actually there were 2,000 complaints, and out of the 2,000 complaints there were 24 violations, 5 of which were related to government. Most of them were local supervised, like elected people violating the law. So it was very nominal. It's really a solution in search of a problem kind of situation. So the whole voter access is a big issue that I think we really need to raise more awareness to people. I mean, the appropriating money, so they put an appropriation rate on that straight ticket, so it can't go to that ballot again. That's ridiculous.
Well, basically, half of what the Democrats are doing is fighting against the Republican strawman. They put up the strawman and say, voter fraud.
Yeah. Which is there is.
The last time there was
an
investigation of voter fraud, they found 2 Republicans.
Yeah, it's so minimal.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, we're working on that. I think it'll come along during the election. I think there's going to be a lot more attention on that. We're kind of developing some messaging on that, but it is very egregious how far we've gone in the
It's
state.
ridiculous, you know. It's like spending all your time trying to find little old ladies who drop paper on the street
Right.
and letting the bank robbers go because
Yeah.
it's, just as a sideline, petitions have been approved for the recall of the governor due to the Flint water crisis, so, you know, they're going to start circulating.
You know, we gotta be really careful here in MI01,
Yeah.
that we don't waste a bunch of effort. He's turned out.
Right.
So we gotta be very careful we don't waste a bunch of effort. Because we're gonna end up with the attorney, the lieutenant governor anyhow. It's not like we're gonna reelect somebody that's on our team. So we're going from bad to maybe worse.
Yeah.
Because he picked him because of his voter district, not because of his qualifications.
Exactly.
So I think we really gotta be cautious about how much effort we put into that. The one thing I know that you need to take a look at is your buddy, Mr. Wahlberg's job proposals. Every year we went to talk to him, and he gave me a little challenge, which I was of course willing to accept. We went out there and I'd asked him, he put up some kind of website with all these jobs he was creating and all of this. And I said, can you tell me how much they pay? Well, that data's on there. He says, why don't you look it up? I said, okay, when you come back to Monroe, I'll have that data for you. Well, as it turns out, if you want to do a little digging into that website, the jobs that he created are all below even the $10 minimum we talked about. There's a bunch of them out there, don't get me wrong, he created tons of jobs at $7 an hour. Well, he didn't, but it was part of this package deal that he put out on his web. But they're all minimum wage jobs. No, there isn't anything in there that pays a living wage. So coming from labor, you know, that's very important to us that our people can at least not be on welfare when they're working for full time.
Welfare he doesn't necessarily support.
Well, that was the other thing. You know, he talked about entitlements. And I think you need to take a long, hard look at entitlements. He was part of the team that created these laws that says I'm entitled to unemployment, right? So is it an entitlement or is it a benefit? And I think that's where you need to take a look at that wording. These are not entitlements. These are benefits that laws have been created for people to use. And we put them there because there's people in need that require that a benefit and assistance at some time. And I think we're letting that get skewed into you're lazy. Well, because people are unemployed doesn't mean they're lazy. You know, I spent a year, many years ago, thank goodness, on unemployment because the economy was in a tank. It was back when in the 70s, the late 70s, when the auto industry, the Japanese were teaching us, you know, a very, very valuable lesson in quality that we didn't learn. I was unemployed for a year. I wasn't a lazy person. And that's the message I think you need to start pushing. That people that are underprivileged, you know, it's criminal that we're not doing something in this country to help them. You know, you talked about the voter thing. In my mind, if we gave every candidate $1 million and said if you spend 1 penny over that, you're done, we'd see all the negative ads go away. Because I don't have any time to talk about my opponent, I gotta talk about myself. So I think we as a, you know, and Obama talked about our voting structure and how it's all screwed up. If we took all the money that we spend electing our president every year, we're not in debt anymore. You know, we could take that money and put it in the budget, and we're no longer in deficit spending. And I don't care what party you're from. We're throwing money away from the top to the bottom to elect candidates that half the time don't even vote. So I really think if you take a look at how he has worded some of this stuff, he could have got beat last time. We just didn't turn out and vote, especially in this area. You know, we voted Republican here. We've never done that because we didn't turn out. It's not that there's more of them.
Yeah.
It's just, we didn't vote, we
Right.
stayed home.
Right.
So we know this is a presidential election, you're gonna get high voter turnout. And I think it's very important that that message of what he's not doing gets out. Because if you made a list of his accomplishments since he's been in office, it wouldn't take but a little 3x5 note card. You wouldn't have to put it on a sheet of paper. Because I'm on his call list, he manages that. He doesn't let me talk anymore when we go to the dinners, but yeah, when he's in town, we're watching. So know that from my perspective, I've been our cat chair for many years now, more than I want to talk about. And we are prepared to start fighting against this cat.
So did you grow up in Monroe?
Yes.
Oh, great, okay.
Yes.
So what do you think the big issues are here in Monroe? Like what are the biggest challenges?
Action. I don't think we have any.
Passion?
Action.
Action.
We have tons of plans, we have tons of thoughts, we're not doing
Do you
anything.
feel the same, Pastor?
I mean, if you look at it, and I know Flint's not in our community, we should have had the National Guard and everybody and his brother up there digging holes, fixing that lot. We're not a third world country.
I was
And I don't care where the money comes from.
I went to deliver water filters and the whole thing. You know, it's wonderful that people want to deliver cases of waters, but I went door to door with these filters and, you know, there are people, they're seniors, they can't go, they don't even have a car to get to the place where the water is. This one lady, she's like, come in. I'm like, I can't come in, you're not supposed to come in. I want you to come. She's like, her plants were dead. She was showing, it was just,
Would you bathe your children in it? I mean, that's the thing, they don't need water to drink, they got plenty of bottled water. How do you bathe your children?
But they can't even access the bottled water. That's
Right,
part of the
but
problem.
you know what? Very frustrating. Another thing that I think we need to take a long, hard look at, you know, they're getting ready to put these frocks pins, is that what the word is, in the schools?
Oh, right.
We need to take a long, hard look at that. We're going to have somebody with no medical training potentially putting drugs into kids. What if they have a seizure and it's not drug related and now we kill them with nafroxone? I think you guys at the state level need to take a long, hard look at who's going to be administering this stuff before it actually gets put out in the road. You know, with the defibrillators, at least they're walkthroughs. This pin, there's no walkthrough. You stab in their leg and shoot it. You know, and
Is it really that much of a problem with kids ODing in school?
So the thing is, if you save one life,
right.
right?
If it's your kid,
that's the struggle, right?
Yeah.
As a person, and the fact of the matter is, we are starting to train all our public safety, and there is a process for training there. You know, I just had a panel down in Adrian last week, and one of the people in the crowd had just been trained, and they said, you know, you can act. It's not that hard to do. So I think it'll be okay. But it is one of those things. Like, is it that much in the schools? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, if you save a life, have you ever talked to somebody that lost a child because they didn't have access to that? Naloxone is what is what. And that's the thing. Because it's not going to hurt anyone.
wait a second. Raining stones over there. You're not gonna hear it.
Are there certain things that you're working on?
Yeah, back to the drug problem. I was actually, when I first got in town, I was invited to be on the drug summit. And one of the things that I wanted to mention, had to mention
What is that?
Smoothies, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
Frozen fruit in a blender.
one of the things that I wanted to bring out was that even though recovery is well, but we need to get to the root of the problem on what's causing someone to make drugs their choice,
Right.
their answer. I currently have 2 young men, or actually older men, in my congregation who have finally come off of drugs after 30 years. And what I've done is they're very active working in my church now.
supporting, helping get people in recovery.
Right, well,
That's what we're
first
talking
of all,
about, peer to peer.
well, first of all, I'm putting them to work, just working in the community, just working in the
Oh,
church,
great.
just doing something. And as I tapped into a person's mind, I said, what causes a person to do it? Why do you make this choice? I really wanted to know, being that was not part of my life. The simplest answer was that I was bored. I had nothing to do. So I took drugs. And then basically I took drugs, and then I started to, the next thing you know, it just became a domino effect. And so one thing that I told the summit is that when we talk about the answer of what we as a community need to do, we need to start policing our own community. There was a phrase that I remember reading about years ago that said, whatever you deal with needs to get dealt with, because whatever you avoid grows. Too many people are growing. Like my brother was saying, that if you don't take action on something, it's just going to grow. As soon as you turn your head against something, it's just going to grow. I've heard people talking about, well, I don't want those people around in my neighborhood. Well, at what point do you step up and embrace somebody? And bring them into your own fold and say, let me help you. Let me do something for you. Let me be an accountability partner for you. Okay, we have to be more accountable to each other, instead of just turning a blind eye and says, well, that's not my problem. You know, and so from the accountability standpoint, I have come up with we have a system, a program that we deal with out of Celebrate Recovery, called to deal with any hurt, habit, or hang up. Start to dig in deep to find out, you know, what's really going on. And I find that a lot of people's issues come from when they were 5, and they never dealt with it. And so they start to come in, and a lot of this, and a big drug epidemic, is because I believe that nobody's caring. You know, us as a parent, you know, in my house, my child doesn't have a room. They just have a place that they live in my house. But it's not like this is my room. No, this is my room. The whole house is mine. Right? You know, so there's nothing that you can do that I don't see. And if you don't like that I'm coming around, then you're gonna have to deal with it. But I'm going to get deep down into every part of your business of your life. And I believe that if we do more of that, not even our own children, just people that we care about, then I think that we can either slow down. I know I can't catch everybody, but at least I can slow down the epidemic because somebody knows that Mr. Jones is watching.